hello, gorgeous human. So good to be talking to you today. As always, this is Sex with Everyone, and I'm your host, Riley. And today I'm in Fort Wayne, Indiana, interviewing a friend of mine that I've known since literally middle school, Jenny, and she is just such a delight, and we have so much history. She recently had a baby, and we discuss what her sex life was like through her pregnancy and after having the baby, and we discuss her marriage and how her and her husband have this pornographic sex, apparently, which is just so spicy. And all sorts of other good stuff, let's be honest. So I also have a wonderful announcement that I'm really excited and kind of nervous about. I have officially started a Patreon. It's a place where if you really love this podcast and want more behind the scenes content or have the backstories behind every photo that I post for every episode, and I even have my own personal sex diary up for your viewing pleasure that we're able to discuss if you feel so inclined. Anyway, so I'm admittedly a little nervous putting this out there, but I'm very, very excited about it because this is something that I am so fucking passionate about. So if you're into it, I would love to see you there. It's patreon.com/sexwitheveryone. Go check it out if you feel so inclined. And otherwise, I just really hope that you enjoy my conversation today as I talk about sex with Jenny. Jenny, how you doing?
Good. I'm so excited.
Good. Me too.
Seriously. Best decision of my day. I'm serious.
That's awesome. What are you excited about?
I don't know.
Like,
I
why
think
are
I'm
you
excited
excited
about all of it.
Yeah.
One, I'm excited just to be talking to you about things that I feel like we've been talking about forever, but now that we're older, it's not so weird. I'm just kind of excited. What a fun topic. And I don't know.
Is it something that you talk about with very many people?
No. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
If the topic comes up, I don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
I think I almost probably want it to come up more because I'm like, oh. Because it's kind of like you said, you find a way to
Thanks, Bubba.
Awesome. So perfect.
By the way, we have a guest appearance from little baby Bubba, who is nursing right now.
Wonderful. Which, that's going to have to be fixed here shortly. I like to share it and, talk to people about it because it provides, that insight of, you're not alone or just a different perspective or, something to, I don't know, ponder. Because when you only sit with your own thoughts and you don't talk to anybody, oh my God, that can kind of take you down a deep, dark hole of who am I? Is this right? Is this wrong? Mm-hmm. Should I don't know. Self-awareness in that kind of situation, I feel like.
Definitely. And I feel like, our society puts such a fucking shame cloak on all of us that, we're supposed to be ashamed of our sexuality and the things we've done. Yeah.
I mean, porn is part of that too, I think. If you're not... One, I think it's how you're raised around porn. And two, I think, you create this idea of how you think things should be. I created it based on rom-coms. Which, it's the opposite of porn, but that's not how life is either,
Right.
So it's kind of, I don't know. I think that's why I like talking about it, so you can have real experiences and not just be like, this is what I saw in porn, or this is what I saw in a rom-com. Because I think, that kind of set me up for failure in a lot of ways growing up. I don't know, even just relationships before I got into sex, which, I did not get into sex at a young age because I was watching rom-coms. So I was wanting to be swept off my feet and wanted the emotional part and the cute things that I think if you find the right person and you're the right age, because it's not going to happen at 17 because boys at 17 aren't doing what people in rom-coms are doing.
No.
That's what 30-year-old men are doing when they're in love with a woman. So it's
right.
It set you up, I was expecting that as a kid. And I literally was just thinking last night, ironically, how one time I was fucked up and someone took me from a house party, the only house party I've ever had in my life.
At my house.
Someone took me from a house party to go pick up this guy, and I was thinking about that. I don't know why I was thinking about it last night, but I could like look at that situation happening and see that that guy was hoping that he was gonna fuck me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was wanting to just, first of all, I was messed up. So like, the judgment was so bad.
Yeah.
And like, I was just wanting to maybe like fool around, but wanted to just hang out with this guy. And like, I could just see it. And I was almost embarrassed to think about how I was at that age, because I feel like guys at that age are wanting to just have sex, and like, they're just young, and like, their hormones are high. And like, I just felt like I was probably a tease to many people who, quote unquote, dated me, because I wasn't that girl. I wasn't going to give it up because I wanted that rom-com instead. And I can even think of another situation now where a guy, we like laid down in bed together, cuddled to watch a movie, and like, he broke up with me like that next week because he was trying to get in my pants and I wouldn't let him.
Oh my gosh.
I know it.
This was in high school?
Yes, I know it.
Oh, fuck.
I can just think of it. I can think of the guy who wanted to be my first kiss and went to kiss me, and I turned my cheek away because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, I just always wanted...
Yeah.
I was so afraid of sex. And it was just like, I don't know.
How has that mentality affected your sexuality or your sexual experiences, like, since high school? When did you have the epiphany that, oh, life isn't like a rom-com?
Did I ever?
I don't know.
I'm not sure I did. I think, like, I just found the right man, and, like, I don't know. Like, that's a really good question to ponder, because I lost my virginity to my husband. So at the time, I don't know, actually. I feel like I have the rom-com now, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But I also have, like, the porn as well.
What do you mean by that?
Like, that I have, like, that I have that side of life, that rom-com. I have a man who sweeps me off my feet and does sweet things, and, like, I married my best friend. But, like, I would state that we have sex that is sometimes what you can see in porn. Like, we have very, like, aggressive, passionate, no rule kind of sex. And, like, we just let ourselves be who we are in the bedroom. It doesn't matter if it's weird or dirty or any of that, because we love each other. And, like, there's no, like, shame or embarrassment. Now, obviously, that's not, like, how it was when we first got together.
Well, sure.
Because I'm all, like, I think it took me well into our marriage to express myself sexually comfortably. And I think it's just because I didn't have sex talks with my parents growing up. Like, I watched HBO softcore porn on, late at night. Like, it wasn't something that I ever had somebody discuss with me. And so I feel like I say there was shame there, but I think there was shame there because maybe I was feeling like I wanted to be that person in bed that I am now, but I never knew how to really let that person out.
Yeah.
I just didn't know.
Well, and there's something to be said for, like, the lack of conversation growing up around it.
Oh, for sure.
Is its own form of shame, because obviously you're not supposed to talk about it. It's like the secret thing. And if you're not talking about it, then there's going to be some kind of anxiety built up around it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think there absolutely was. And I think, like, it's funny because growing up, I think I had, like, a really high libido. Like, I always, like, wanted to fool around and, like, but, like, that step towards sex was just such a terrifying big step for me. And I don't really know why. I've never actually assessed that in the therapy that I have all the time. I've never talked about that. It never really occurred to me even until you asked.
Is your husband the only person you've had sex with?
I have had sex with one other person, but it lasted less than 5 minutes. So do I count it? Like, I wasn't experienced when I did it, but, like, and that's not actually a dig at that person. It was more so like, I was drunk and mad at my husband at the time and was like, are you in love with me? We were just, like, having sex at that point. And he was like, no, I'm not in love with you. You can do whatever you want, which was a lie. But, you know, we weren't at that point where we were going to settle down and like say we were going to be together.
You guys were just dating at that time?
Oh, we were only having sex.
Okay.
We like weren't even like,
you weren't even official in any capacity. Yeah.
And so when he said that he wasn't in love with me, I was sad, and I went and had sex with this other guy, and then he got mad at me because I did, and then I was like, fucking sorry. And like, then yeah. So it's really only all of my actual sex, I mean, all of that has been with my husband.
Yeah.
That growth.
Yeah.
So like,
wow.
And we've been together for 12 years. So.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, has it been 12 years?
No, it's been, oh wait, I've known him for 14. So yeah, 12.
Wow. God, we're getting old. I can't believe we've known each other for almost 2 decades.
2 decades.
Isn't that wild to say?
I wonder how many, actually, oh my gosh, speaking of sex and all of this, I'm like kind of ashamed to admit this out loud, but I'm going to because people grow. Like when I think of like how far I've come along in sex and like all of that, I think about when you played a joke on me about like lesbians, and I was so like, remember when we went out to eat and one of our other mutual friends was with us, and you played a joke on me saying that you guys were lesbians, and I cried.
Oh my gosh, I forgot
because
about
I
that.
was so like that, like culture shock, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's just funny, like, one, that's how long we've known each other. Wow. And I can like literally remember that day, like so crystal clear.
Oh my gosh.
Because now, like, I'd be like, that's fucking awesome. Like, whatever, you know? Sure. But back then I was so naive and so just like scared of the unknown. I mean, it's just funny. That just occurred to me as you said that.
Gosh.
Yeah. So yes, we've known each other for 2 decades, and I feel like we have talked about this a lot, actually. Yeah. Maybe not to this extent, but
I mean, it is my favorite thing to talk about, so
soon to be mine as well, quite honestly.
You were talking about like the evolution that you and your husband have had together. I mean, and especially him essentially being like the only person that you really have a much sexual history with. Yeah. Like, how does that make you feel? I'm just curious, you know, is there any like curiosity or did you miss out? Are you glad that, you know, it worked out that way, or?
I actually am totally glad it worked out that way and have
it is the rom-com.
I don't ever think, I've never been like, damn, I wish I could have known what it was like to be with this. Like, I've never had that thought ever.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he is so open and so understanding, and we have gone through such a long journey that, like, it just doesn't exist for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I actually have never, like, that question's never been asked to me.
Yeah.
And I'm, like, feeling, you know, hand banging on chest over here, like, good about that, you know, because I've never felt that way.
Yeah.
I've never felt like I've missed out, or like, I mean, also my husband is incredibly attractive, and he always has been. There hasn't been one time in our marriage where I've been like, you need to take care of yourself. Like, thankfully I have a husband who does take care of himself, for himself and me.
Mm-hmm. So I gotta ask about this pornographic sex y'all have.
I mean, and maybe it's just my opinion of pornographic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I'm like blushing. I feel like it's just like radiating off me into the microphone. I don't know, like, choking, anything. I like can't go past that. Honestly, it's just anything. Like, clearly, the thing that I'm like over here acting like I'm the only one in the world who does it, anal, let's just say it. But, I don't really, maybe it's just like the passion that we have. Like, not that I think there's really passion in porn, because like it's actors, unless you're looking at homemade porn, but it's just really hot, passionate, but also sensual sex, I feel like. Like, and maybe it's just porn to us because we just hold nothing back. We hold nothing back.
Yeah. Double
Penetration, like anything. And toys, like, it just doesn't, it doesn't matter. So I haven't, like, it must have been in 2020 when everything was shut down. And I was working from home, and every day after I got done working, I would like have a drink. And then we would just have like amazing sex. And like, I'm not an alcoholic. Was I maybe an alcoholic for that year? Potentially. I mean, not.
Who wasn't?
I know. I was going to say that, but I'm like, for those alcoholics out there, I'm not trying to like make it seem like it's not a big deal, but I'm just saying like, I was drinking a ton and I was smoking marijuana or eating edibles and I was doing a ton of it. But like that enhanced and kind of helped me blossom in a way. Mm-hmm. Granted, there was a point where I was like too reliant on that. Mm. I'll go down that path later. But it was during that time that like I sat down with my husband and we just kind of had a discussion of like, we were fucked up and like we were talking about things that we like. And I think I kind of admitted like, I feel some shame because I'm not letting myself be who I am in the bedroom. And he was like, you shouldn't have to do that with me. Like we've been together for a long time. And so at that point, then we just started having like this wild, passionate sex, like the kind of sex where you like can't get up for an hour and pass out because you're fucked up and you just had wild sex and you wake up 3 hours later and you're on your bed naked and sticky as fuck. Like, you know, that kind of sex, which is amazing sex. So like, I don't know. I would just say it's just like, there's nothing that we won't do. Yeah. To be honest.
So you're telling me that you guys had a conversation and then your sex life totally changed?
I would well, in a sense. I mean, it's not like, I mean, I suppose I had to have that conversation often. Like, it's not like I just am like, well, I'm a slut in the bedroom now. Like, right. You know, but.
Like, what about that conversation? I mean, obviously you talked about like where you're at or whatever, but like what for you allowed you to break down that barrier in your own head? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just trying to kind of think about, you know, what that was for me. And quite honestly, in my opinion, and I'm like going to take you back before I kind of answer that, but like when I first started having anal sex, I was doing it to please my husband. And actually, I remember the very first time we did it and I was like, no, not for me. I'm never going to do this again. Like, no. Mm-hmm. And then like years went by and like we didn't have anal. And then I started doing it again and it was really uncomfortable. I could not get my body to relax. I was so concerned with the big thing everyone's concerned when they have anal is shitting everywhere. And like, I mean, I say that. I mean, it was for me, you know, a big deal. And like, I just couldn't get my body to relax. So it's like I was enjoying it for my husband's sake, but not for my own. And then, to be honest, I like getting really personal here. I had like a lot of issues vaginally. Like I couldn't get it to be comfortable that way either. And so when I started trying it anally, I was like, my husband was like, hey, like, if you just relax it will feel better. You got to just relax your body. And I was like, okay. Cause like he was doing research to try and help me. He wasn't just like, I want anal, we're going to have anal, you know, right. He was trying to help me because he strangely knew that I would enjoy it. And I was just like, I'm not going to. But when I had this issue where sex wasn't comfortable vaginally either, I was like, okay, we're just going to keep trying to have anal sex. And eventually it's like I kind of forced myself to like it. And that sounds really horrible. Like I'm just like, yep, I just suffered through anal. And it wasn't really like that. But in a sense, I wanted to have sex with my husband. We went through this phase where sex was kind of tough because this issue I was having vaginally, like I either had there was a point where I had a bacterial infection for like a year. Oh. And no medication was helping. The doctors that I was seeing, they weren't helping me. You know, it was really bad. And so we came upon this point in our marriage where like sex just wasn't what I'm talking about now. It was a struggle. Yeah. And then after like years, I'm trying to think how many years. I said 2020, I had that conversation. It might have been like 2016 that I started kind of getting more into having anal sex. So after all those years, 4 or 5 years of doing it, I was talking with him about like that conversation we had. And I think I had to unlock something in my brain to enjoy anal. Because anal for a long time, maybe not so much today, but for a long time was really taboo. Like,
oh, sure.
It was not something people did, or if it was, they didn't talk about it. Most certainly your parents aren't talking to you about it.
Right.
Which realistically, like, it probably should be talked about because it's a good way to not get pregnant. I mean,
yeah.
Just saying. I mean, So I'm getting off track here, but like, I think for me, I felt like anal was like a really dirty thing to do. And not dirty in like a gross way, but dirty in like a sexual, like taboo way. When I kind of could like unlock that and like be accepting of that within myself and my mind, I was kind of able to be more accepting in the bedroom. And like I used to be, I guess I didn't have a lot of confidence either. I didn't. And so in the bedroom, like if I'd make like a faux pas, I would laugh about it, which would totally kill the mood, right? I mean, there's a sense of laughing in the bedroom.
Sure.
But there's also a sense of that awkward, I'm uncomfortable, trying to kind of get out of it, you know, like,
yeah.
And so I just had to break through those barriers, and talking with my husband really kind of helped me with that, honestly. And we had many talks probably prior, but I just could not unleash the beast, I suppose. Like I couldn't get through to myself.
Yeah.
And I honestly think self-confidence was a huge part of it, and like really going down a really deep, dark hole of myself. There was a whole ton of codependency involved in it as well, which is people pleasing. And I think in 2020, I was 29, turning 30 at the end of the month. And literally, I don't know, maybe it's because I was growing mentally and emotionally. I was able to kind of unlock that part of me as well. There were just I think so many things played a factor in that conversation we had in 2020. And to be honest, being fucked up and being able to let your inhibitions out that way too also helped immensely.
Yeah.
There's just that fine balance of, okay, we're getting fucked up every time we have sex, like you know. Yeah. And so I was able to work through that in this past year. Like we kind of, I mean, there's a child here, so like, you know, but you know, I just think that, many things played a part in that conversation. Yeah. A lot of different things, clearly.
Yeah. But before that conversation in 2020, you guys were having anal pretty much every time.
Oh yeah, for years.
I mean, okay. I remember having that conversation with you before.
Yeah. I mean, I think years, and like I said,
and you loved it. Like I remember having this conversation. Like, yeah, you really loved it.
Yeah,
like, even before. Yeah,
there was probably a couple years in there where it's not that I hated it, but I just wasn't in that comfortability state where I was like choosing when we have sex, like, let's just start with anal. It used to be like, well, let's start with vaginally, and then that would just hurt. And I'm like, okay, let's just do anal. But now it was like, let's just skip the vaginal. Okay. Like, I'm good. You can finger me, you can eat me out, but like, we don't need to do that. And like, then like double penetration came along, and that was actually, kind of really interesting.
In what capacity are you referring to double penetration? Like,
oh, like 2 things, 1 hole, or 2 holes?
Right. Yeah.
Actually, I think I've done both, but, in the capacity that I'm talking about, it was 2 holes.
Yeah.
So
you'd have like a dildo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like a butt plug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I've been able to kind of get through the issues that I've had vaginally, but now that I enjoy anal more, I'm like, yeah, like, okay. Like, sorry, hole. That's kind of how I feel, but I'm like, seriously, like, girlfriend, it's all good. Like, I still love you. I'll still take care of you, but maybe not.
I may be misremembering this, so tell me if I am or not. But I thought in high school, I remember you telling me how, like, using tampons hurt because you were so tight. Didn't you have to have, like, a surgery or something to, like, cut your hymen?
Yes, basically.
Okay. I thought I was remembering
I think it's called a hymenectomy.
Okay.
Anybody medical out there, so sorry if I butchered that. But,
can you tell me a little bit about that? And if you think that, like, is part of why, like, vaginal sex maybe hurt? You know?
Potentially. Like I think that when I was at some point in high school wanting to get on birth control, it was to help my menstrual cramps, which were horrific. And like going all the way back to middle school, I remember actually, since we knew each other then, I think I was in 7th grade when I started my period. And at that point, like my very first period, I remember it was like horrific. I mean, the cramps were just it's unfucking real, which I think everybody feels that way on their first one, but like it was fucking awful. And, I think for 9 years I used pads.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to go get on birth control, my doctor like tried to insert her pinky into my vagina, and she got to like she didn't even get like up to her cuticle. And I was like on the table, like that fucking hurts. And so at that point she was like, well, I can't put you on birth control. And like, you like, I don't know what the exact term was. I've actually looked it up recently, but I can't remember. But like, basically I had to have my hymen surgically cut. Like it just wasn't open enough or big enough to insert a tampon. I don't know what it was, but I didn't get that surgery until I was like 18, I think. I remember on my 19th birthday, I was excited to use a tampon. I was scared shitless and it fucking hurt. Like I remember, like I was just like, oh my God, like this is horrific. It hurt so bad. But yeah, so I mean, like I'm sure like all of that probably is part of the reason why sex was a big deal as well, because like I used pads, and I didn't even use pads. I used panty liners. So like think of how many times you change those out. Like those hold like nothing.
Yeah.
So like it just was, yeah, that was a crazy experience actually.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget about that. And to think like when I turned 19, I used tampons for the first time, and then that next year I lost my virginity. So like, and that was really insane as well. Like having sex at 19.
And that's quite a step up from a tampon as
well. Right. It really was, let me tell you. But anyway, that's really all I can tell you about that. That was just a crazy fucking experience.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what I always remembered, and why, in my flawed memory, that's why I thought you and your husband, and why you preferred anal was because because vaginal sex was so hurtful, and because because I always kind of associated it with having to have had that surgery and just being so tight and small, like in general. Yeah.
And I forgot that's what you actually like originally asked me, but those two I don't think really had anything to do with it.
Oh, really? Okay.
There was like a point in time, I think, where I just got this bacteria infection, and I don't actually, to be honest, like I blame it on that, but I don't really know why vaginal sex became painful.
It became painful. So it wasn't at first when you first started having sex?
I think the first couple times, because I had never fucking had sex before.
Sure.
But like, no, my husband and I, when we were dating, had sex like sometimes 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And like, it was fine. Like
Oh, interesting.
So like.
Oh, that's so interesting. I never realized that.
Yeah. There's like a lot of, I don't really know why, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Why it became painful.
Yeah. Part
of it maybe was placebo effect. Like maybe I just, that self-confidence, you know what I mean? Like if you can't be calm and, you know, there's this, you know, you have to kind of enter a state of like relaxation. And I think that, I mean, I just suffered so badly in my early 20s from self-confidence issues. Talking to you now, I can almost blame it on that, you know, like I just think that,
I mean, sex is such a mental game anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And again, like lack of experience, and like when you marry the person. Are you good? You just want your chance to talk? I just think that like when you marry someone who you've lost your virginity to and you marry at a young age, there's so much soul searching and like self growth and growth as a partner and in marriage that you go through. It just took me well into my late 20s to find who I really am. And I, again, like goes back to that conversation at the table. I think that's how I was able to just like be accepting of myself and like let loose and like figure out what I really like. Because I had no fucking clue in my early 20s.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
I don't think anybody does.
I just, you know, I think if you think about it, like, I could be wrong. I've never asked anybody, but I feel like a lot of people become sexually active way before they're 19. And like, I was sexually active, but like, not in a lot of ways that I feel like a lot of people that I know were.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing everything but sex, but like... butt sex, sorry. That's like pun intended. Like the amount of growth. I mean, yeah, I could ramble on.
Let's talk about the baby in the room.
Bubba.
Hey, Bubba. So, I mean, you just had this beautiful baby, 2 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to, like, talk about what your sex life or, you know, feelings or sexuality or whatever was like during pregnancy and post-pregnancy, you know?
Well, let me first start out by stating that when I told my husband that I wanted to have a child, I'm like, how bad can pregnancy be? Like, sure, I'll be nauseous and like be emotional, but like it can't be that bad. Like, it was so much worse than that.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. Like, I'm over here. Like, any mom who is listening to this is like, bitch. Because I really was like, it can't be that bad. Like, I'll have food cravings and I'm sure I won't feel good, but like, that'll pass. And like, no, dude. I remember I found out when I was 4 months pregnant that I was 4 weeks pregnant that I was pregnant. And like, I remember, I don't know, on week like 7, I felt so shitty. My libido had literally vanished. I was nauseous all fucking day, every day. I didn't like get sick all the time, but like I just like libido gone, like did not exist. And so in my second, and they say like in your second and third, you start to get that libido back. But like in my second trimester, I felt okay. But like at this point, I was still kind of feeling nauseous. I had crazy food aversions. Like, my mind was only really thinking about the pregnancy, like still no libido. And in my third trimester, I started having this libido. But to be honest, like masturbation was a key for 2 reasons. One, my belly was fucking big and like I wasn't about to have the type of sex that I usually have with my husband. I couldn't, it wouldn't have worked. So
Are you referring to anal or just being like more aggressive and
not even aggressive, but like, you know, like I'm not having sex on my side. Like I'm usually on top. Like I'm not doing mission, you know, it wasn't comfortable. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not one of those people who's like, oh my God, you're poking the baby. Like I'm not worried about that. But like there is a fucking big ass belly. Like you can't maneuver the same way. Like it's not comfortable. And some people it might be. I have friends who were pregnant and were having sex all the time. And I'm like, awesome. I'm jealous. I'm genuinely jealous. Congratulations. But like for me, it just wasn't like that. Yeah. I think, you know, we only had sex a handful of times. And like the second thing is that I was literally like I had a libido, but to be honest, the masturbation was simply to help me sleep because at that point I couldn't fucking sleep. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, like I need to go down for a nap because I'm tired. What's going to help me sleep a really deep sleep? Masturbation. And like it just did. And it wasn't anything crazy. Like I was just like, oh God, like I just need to like fucking pass out.
Yeah. Just bang it out real quick.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, and so that's hard too because, you know, one thing is that when my husband and I have sex, like it's not, it is not like we don't do quickies. Like that is just not us. Mm-hmm. So like, that's the other thing when I'm pregnant. I'm just like, dude, I don't have the energy. I'm tired. Like I want to have the energy, but I'm fucking tired. Yeah. So that's why I'm like masturbation. Like I can just take a nap, like be quick. It's done. Like I didn't want to do that to my husband. I didn't want to be like the people pleaser in me. I'm not going to be like, hey, could you just like be a one pump chump and like, don't worry about yourself. Like it just wasn't going to work for us. So, but my libido did come back and my libido is still back after having the baby, which is so exciting. You know, the first 6 weeks of postpartum, you are recommended, and I'm a rule follower. They're not recommended to like even masturbate because your uterus is trying to heal, whether you have a cesarean or you have a vaginal birth, like you have just like with a cesarean, there's 15 layers that you're cutting through. So like you've got to give your body a chance to heal and you don't want to have an orgasm because it can affect that. And like, so they're like for the first 6 weeks after Bubba was here, like there was nothing and it was like killing me. And so we have had sex and it was wonderful. And I was definitely concerned, about like how long it had been since I had anal and like if I would have to start that whole process over. Like I was really just like, yes, let's have sex. Like I wasn't going to do it vaginally because like there's such a high percentage of getting pregnant again right after, like it's high. Like the doctor was like, are you going to be on birth control? And I don't personally like the idea of birth control. And so like just for my body. And I was like, no. And she was like, well, I'm just letting you know, like, you need to be so careful. Like it is so common to get pregnant right after you've had a baby.
Know that.
Crazy common.
That is so interesting. Your body's like, I'm already in this mode. I'm just going to keep doing it.
Well, not even that.
Right.
Like your sex drive is so high and like it happens all the time.
So it's common to have a high sex drive after giving birth?
I don't know if it's common for that, but like, well, I'm not like a fucking medical expert over here. I'm just going off of like what I read on Google. But
sure.
I think it fluctuates because I know there's a lot of women, there's postpartum depression, there's baby blues. I mean, I'm not saying like my sex drive was high as fuck every single day.
Yeah.
But like, thank God it's there. And I feel really lucky and grateful that I still have it.
Yeah.
But I was super worried that I would have to start over with my anal journey. And I did not. It was wonderful. And it felt so good. And it was like 20 minutes long, which is a win for a newborn. And it was kind of tough to... Actually, that's not true. I thought it was going to be really tough to mentally be there because I'd be so concerned about what is going on with the baby. Mm-hmm. And so I brought the monitor down and I have like a video monitor and I'm like looking at it and like, it's fine. And it goes off sound when it goes like makes a noise when there's movement or sound. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it went off a couple times and we both glanced at it, but we were both still able to be so fully present in that moment.
Oh, that's so good.
And it was amazing. And like, I'm really hoping, you know, that this weekend he goes down for another 20 minutes and not at 2 a.m. So like, you know, I think that I'm probably pretty lucky that my sex drive still is really present after giving birth and that like I feel good in my body because I literally just saw like a fellow mom on Instagram who is, in my opinion, so beautiful, but was stating that she just kind of felt like the standard of what to be and look like postpartum is unachievable. And I could just tell that she didn't feel good. And that hurt my heart because one, I'm looking at her and I'm like, you are banging. But it's just a self-reflection thing. And like, I definitely have moments of being like, I look frumpy and I hate this. But at the same time, like, I'm the most voluptuous and curvy I've ever been in my life. And I'm trying to just embrace it. And it feels good. Like, to even during sex, to like feel not just, it's almost like I have felt like I've been that teenager my whole life. And now after having a child, I've kind of blossomed into the woman that I feel like has always been deep within, but I've never been able to kind of let her blossom, which is amazing.
That is amazing.
I actually have never even admitted that to myself. So it's really nice to say that.
That is so cool.
Yeah. It feels really good, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, I just put on an outfit this morning and I like sent a picture to my husband and like, you could see my baby belly, but I just was like, fuck it. Like, I am not going to live in sweatpants and big t-shirt. I can't do it. Yeah. Like, even if my body isn't where I want it to be, like, I have to just be accepting and loving of my body because if I can do that, it's going to pass on to the bedroom. It's going to pass on to how I, you know, just everything, how I am in public, how I feel about myself. And for the first time in a long time, I feel really good about myself, even on my shitty days, which I just remembered when you used to make me say 3 things that I love about myself. And I swear that has truly helped me in my life, even if I haven't done it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's really, it kind of is a self-reflection of how long I really have struggled with self-love.
You really have. I mean, as long as I've known you. Like,
yeah.
Especially back in the day when we were still in school, like, you were so hard on yourself.
My husband hears this, he's going to be like, oh, she still is. And I am, but it's crazy. I mean,
we all are. Yeah. But I can see the difference.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Massive difference. And that's just so cool that, you know, with your body changing and going through such a big thing of having a baby, like, you have a different body and you will always have a different body because your body is now changed, you know? And, but that's so cool that you're embracing it and loving, you know, being not a tiny little stick figure like you've been most of your life. Yeah.
Honestly, it does feel good. Like there are parts of my body that have gotten bigger that shock me. Like even my shoulders are wider.
Really?
It's weird.
Oh, interesting.
Like I feel broader and like, of course my hips are and like my hips are not going to shrink. So like, I'm not kidding. I probably have 80 pairs of pants in my closet that don't fit me. Even my biggest pants that I wore during my 3rd trimester are too tight. It's so strange. I don't understand how it happens, but like all of that, I bought a pair of shoes last fall to wear, and my feet became so swollen, and then they grew, so they don't fit me anymore. Like, it's just every part of me is so much bigger. My boobs are like, when I was in 1st grade, I wanted a big set of great big tits. And I remember coming home and saying that to my parents, and now they're here. And like, I love them, except they like come with all these things like sticking to my rib cage that I'm not used to, and like all this stuff that I'm like, what's going on? But I love them. Yeah. And I feel so good in my body now. I really do. Great. Even when like right now when I'm wearing fucking waffle sweatpants, like I still feel amazing.
I love that for you. That's just beautiful to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I really just have to state, like, I didn't realize how long I have struggled with self-love until I just sat here and reflected on our friendship and how long you've known me.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where, like, even talking in therapy, like, I think, not to, like, totally get off topic, but I just think that, like, I had brushed things under the rug. Like, there are things that even in high school, I'm like, I used to be that way. Or, like, you know, my husband, this is so funny. I feel like you will totally get a kick out of this. He says, I bet you were the girl in school who were like, oh, teacher, you're sending us home this weekend without any homework. And I'm like, I so was not that person in school. I was the person in school who thought that people hated me, and the girl who didn't do the homework, and her math teacher in junior year gave her a D- because she didn't want her in her class the next year. Okay. So like, I'm like, I am like not the person who was begging for, like, I think he thinks because I am a rule follower that I was like kind of a nerd in high school, and I hate that word because like what really dictates a nerd? But like, I'm just like, I was so not that person. I just was the girl who like didn't try because I just didn't. Yeah. It's crazy to me. Like, whenever I'm with you, I always have all these moments of self-reflection, and it just blows my mind. Like, I don't know. I'm still so hard on myself. I mean, truly, it's crazy to me.
I mean, that's got to feel good though. Like, seeing for yourself how far you've come.
Sure.
Like, you see it, right? You definitely see. I mean, maybe not as much as I see it, you know, because it's so easy to be hard on ourselves. But
of course.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I see it, but I see it from like my 20s. You know, whereas like you've just known me for so long. Of course, you probably are like, holy fucking shit, you know, and like I am too. It's just crazy.
Referencing something that you mentioned during all of that, kind of a topic change.
Yeah.
But how growing up you always wanted big tits.
Yeah.
And then you got them before the baby.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I would love to talk about like getting a boob job and what that was like for you. And
yeah. Oh my gosh, it was crazy, honestly. Amazing. Crazy, amazing. In all the positive, bright, lovely, just fucking beautiful ways. Which also totally helped my self-confidence, my sex drive, which like I said.
Really? Your sex drive?
Yeah. So I've had them for a year and a few months. I got them in February of 21. And I remember in December of 20, I wanted to get them so bad. And like, I couldn't figure out the money for them. And I was just like, there was a point in time where I had tried so many. I went to a consultation in October of 20, and I just was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And they quoted me, and I think it was like $7,000. And I was like, my credit card limit was like dog shit. There was it wouldn't have worked. And I was fucking pissed. And I was just distraught because I just wanted them so fucking bad. And there was a long period of time in my life where I was like, I'm not going to get them. Mm-hmm. I am going to learn to love myself with what I was given. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I had to become accepting, and I kind of learned to be sexy in my stick figure body. I started just wearing crop tops and not wearing bras and letting my nipples show, which like my nipples aren't even that big, but like just whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And when I finally went to the bank and got an approval for a loan, fuck it, because there was no penalty. I could pay it off as quick as possible, and I make payments to this day on them, and which is crazy. I'll talk about the money aspect now that I'm fucking pregnant and breastfeeding and all this shit in a minute, but like, it was so amazing. I got approved, and within like a week and a half of getting approved, I had them done.
Oh my gosh.
So and that was just pure luck. I went back and forth with the bank a couple days, and then the plastic surgeon's office called me and they were like, hey, we have an opening next week. Can you do it? And I was just like, yes. So I remember the day I woke up, I looked at my husband and we took a before photo and we were on our way, and it was so early. I had to be there at like 5 a.m. And I just remember I was playing this song. I can't think of who sings it now. It's like a one-word band, but the song is called This Is the Day, and the lyrics are, this is the day your life will surely change. And I remember listening to it. I listened to it on the way to get my tits done, and I listened to it on the way to have my son. And it's like my theme song over here. And it was amazing. Like, I went in, they gave me anesthesia, which like made me so just like, ugh, which like it was fine. They said count back from 10. I counted back from 10, and then I woke up and it was done. I mean, it was amazing. But I woke up like gasping for breath. Like, I was like, like, that's how I woke up, because the amount of pressure that I felt on my chest was insane. And the first question I said was, how big are they? Like, I didn't get to pick the size. So I didn't need to go in there and say, I want double Ds. He said, what we're going to do is we're going to put in as big as your skin will let us. So they like ultimately cut me open. They put this like balloon in and they stretch it as far as my skin will comfortably stretch without, you know, making it a horrific job. And he was a really well-renowned surgeon. So it was amazing. I healed. I mean, I was like back at work within like a week, maybe 4 days. The actual healing, I don't think really even occurred until I was in my pregnancy. So I got them done in February. I found out in July that I was pregnant, and like, I was still probably healing, but I did call them and I was like, is this a problem? And they were like, no problem at all. You can still breastfeed. But those few months that I was not pregnant, the confidence that I felt in those months was insane. I have never felt, until maybe now, that confident in my life. Like, I felt sexy. I had these, and they hadn't settled, so they were high. Yeah. And I'm over here like, I know that they're going to look natural, but like, wouldn't it be amazing if they just stayed high my whole life? Cause like, that would be awesome. They just, I don't care that they look fake. Yeah. They're fucking hot. Like, I loved them. I love them still, but like, they just were so beautiful. I just absolutely loved them. And they totally helped me in the bedroom. Like, talk about being voluptuous. At that point, I had a tiny fucking waist and this big rack. Like, I felt so good. And I had like I had bleach blonde hair at the time. And like, I just felt so sexy. And I remember I splurged on all these crop tops and really, really, I mean, I have been like a gray t-shirt jeans, ripped up jeans kind of person my whole life. And I was able to kind of venture out of that and feel good about it. And I was wearing low cut tops and I just felt so good. Like, I was wearing lacy bras and like, I just fucking felt so good. And like, I think I'm really excited. I just need to go shopping, but I'm really excited to kind of get back to that. Yeah. I still love that style. All of the clothes that I spent money on last year don't fit me anymore. None of them. Not any of them. None of the cute bras or crop tops. Yeah. So
I love that. I love that it made such a big difference.
Oh, it totally
for
did.
Everything.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially in the bedroom. Like, that's awesome. I actually think that I can remember like being a teenager and like being like groped by choice. That sounds horrible. Like being groped and like being aroused by having my tits touched. And then I think part of that faded. I don't know why. But then when I got my new boobs, like that feeling came back, and like, what an amazing feeling to like, you know, actually feel like you can be like, be groped, you know. My husband is a big man, so like, he has big hands, and like, you know, when you have small tits and big hands, like, you know, it's not on him, it's on me. I have small tits. So like, you know, I think that was like a nice thing as well in the bedroom to like feel that again. So.
And now they're even bigger.
I honestly don't know the size, but I know that they were full Bs. Yeah. When I had them first done, which was huge for me. Yeah. And I would say now they've got to be Ds.
They have, yeah.
I'm sure that they are.
Yeah.
And like, I love them now. I'm trying to kind of get they are like, so I don't wear a bra because I recently like heard that wearing bras really aren't good for your boobs. I know that that's crazy. Some people might disagree, but like, I've just tried not to wear one. Also, like, I'm used to not wearing one.
Right.
But now I have these fucking heavy ass tits that hang from my chest.
Boob sweat is a thing.
Yeah, it definitely is interesting, but I still love how big they are. And I am nervous of how they're going to look when I'm done breastfeeding. I genuinely am. But I know someone who has had implants and breastfed, and I've mentioned it to them. And they're like, well, do mine look saggy? And I'm like, no. And they're like, well, like, it's hard. I can't really feel my implants anymore. It's still numb where the incision is. It's just really weird breastfeeding with implants.
Yeah.
And I definitely have a fear of like, I just spent all this money on this surgery and now
everything's changing again.
Yeah. What is going to happen?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to be totally devastated if I have nothing again.
Well, you're definitely not going to go to nothing.
Yeah, I know.
It'll just
like,
be different than what you originally paid for.
Yeah, and to be honest, they're probably just going to look like naturally large breasts that kind of hang.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, like, that's just my life. I am the one who chose to get implants before getting pregnant because when I got the implants, I didn't think I was going to have children. And then all of a sudden I realized that I'm turning 31 and do I really want to not have children? And I mean, by the look on your face, I'm happy to elaborate on that, but like,
yeah, that's so interesting.
it hit me one day and I was like,
so did you like always just not really want to have kids or?
Well, I think when I was younger and still watching rom-coms, I mean, I think there was a point in time where I was like, my destiny is to be a mother. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Keyword stay at home, because when I was in college and they're like, tell us what your dream job is. And I'm like, not having one. Duh. Like, I'll openly admit it. I don't want a job. Like,
right.
Can you just support me? So I think at that point in time in my life, that's why I was like, I'm destined to be a stay-at-home mom so I can like, you know, be a stay-at-home mom and not have to fucking work and take care of kids. And, which I'm so thankful I didn't have kids at a young age. I mean, I just would be a completely different person and not in a positive way, probably. So when I was dating my husband, I was like, I need to have this man's children. Like, I have to. But like, as we kind of got married and went through a lot of things in our marriage, I was going through a time where I was just like, I have a hard enough time taking care of myself. And like, I love my life with my husband. I don't want to bring somebody else in, because to be honest with you, I was like, I don't think I can love anything as much as I love my husband. And I don't think I can give any additional love. Like, I am so in love with my husband, even to this day. And even being a parent, it's grown even more. I mean, I literally fall in love with my husband every time I see him. I mean, I could cry about it. Like, I just love him so much. And I think the love that we have and what we went through as getting married young and our sex life and working and moving multiple times and all of that, like, there was such a bond there that we both were like, we're not going to have kids because we just want to do it together. So like last year, I was probably high because I've been a stoner for 10 years until I got pregnant. And I would just remember, I was like, I don't know, it like hit me. And I'm like, let me just pause and say something. I feel like everyone can agree that every family is fucked up. Every family has their problems. Yeah,
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that rom-com white picket family, it may exist, but those families, I feel like, are the families that just throw their shit under the rug and make it appear like everything's good. Whereas like, I have a family where we let our shit, like, fuck it. If we're going to be screaming on a porch out front in front of everybody, then that's what we're going to do. Okay. Like, it is what it is. And so, you know, I think that my husband and I wanted that white picket family. We want to be there and have, you know, we realized that. I was like, you know, if we don't have a kid in the next like 5 years, I'm like, it is going to be too late. Like, I do have a ticking clock as a woman. So like, I kind of was like, let's think about this. Like, do we really want to not have kids? Because I was like, we got to make a decision. Like, I think when I was hitting 30, I was having that thought. I was kind of like, okay, I keep saying I don't want kids, but like that clock is ticking. So like, do you really not want them? And we kind of were like, oh, I guess I kind of do want one.
Yeah.
And there was still that feeling of like, but will I love this child as much as I love my spouse? And luckily, like, I think, I told you already, we tried, and within a month we got pregnant.
That's so fast.
I mean, it was stupid fast.
Yeah.
I think we had sex 3 times.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it was like, I feel so blessed. I obviously wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is that my mother told me, she was like, you think that you'll never love anything because of how much you love your husband. But that child, you will love that child. It will be a different kind of love. And wholeheartedly, I remember the day that I came home from the hospital. I said to her, you were right. My son has filled a void in my heart that I did not know existed.
Aww.
And I mean it. Like, yeah. I am so in love with my husband, but like, oh my God, it is a different kind of love. Like, I mean, it's fucking crazy. So like, that's my, I had a baby and changed my life in the matter of a month story. And I wouldn't change it, but it was crazy. Like how quickly we decided.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in the blink of an eye almost.
What was it like having sex for the intention of having a baby?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't even really remember.
Because you guys obviously made the decision, and so therefore you were no longer having anal.
Yeah.
So you went to vaginal again. Then also with like the mental like intentions of like to create together.
The only thing, sorry, Bubba, the only thing that I can really like say is that it feels really good to intentionally have him come inside me and like have no worry. Like that was a good feeling. Like come inside me vaginally, like it just was like, that is like the only thing I can remember. I think there was a little bit of a high there. You're just like, oh, like, wow, like this is what this is like, cause like for 10 years of having sex, granted there was a lot of anal, but every time vaginally, it was like, you didn't even, with a condom, you didn't even risk it, So like, that's all I can really say. Cause that's all I really remember is it was amazing to come inside of, if only it had been a few more times. Such a good feeling. Like if I just had been able to experience it a few more times. But yeah, that's seriously all I remember about it, which I feel horrible, like that I can't remember more, but
that's okay.
Well, I more so mean for like my husband. Like I hope that he wouldn't be like, oh, you don't remember? Like, I'm like, I remember it felt really good. And I think there was probably a different sense of passion there as well. I'm sure there was. Yeah. In fact, I don't even remember the position we had it in, but I'm sure that I'm sure it was the same passion, but just in a different sense, Cause
sure.
like, I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to eat while you ask me another question.
Great.
Just
have those grapes.
I need one. Although you can probably hear me swallow because it's like seriously the loudest fucking swallow ever. It really is. It's like a small throat or something. I don't know. Actually, it can't be that small because let me tell you, it can take a lot. Seriously. It might be my favorite sexual act.
What?
Giving a blowjob.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've like honestly mastered it. I will openly admit that.
Oh my gosh. Tell me everything.
I'm so good at it. I don't even know. I mean, not that I've like experienced, like.
Well, sure.
But like, I genuinely enjoy it. And I think that's part of it. Like having your partner feel pleasure and knowing you're the one doing it is like, that's the people pleaser in me, but also like, what a great feeling.
Yeah.
And like, I just thoroughly love it. Like, so similar to anal, I have just like trained myself to like really relax my throat. So I like can pretty much go like balls deep. And And like, I'm over here saying like, oh, I'm so good at it. And maybe I'm sure there's other people out there that are like, bitch, I've been doing that for years. But like, I just feel like I have truly mastered it to a point where it's comfortable for me, where I can do it, where I don't like vomit unless I'm fucked up. Sometimes that just happens. And then, I don't know. It's like so much saliva, also touching the balls and going deep. Like it's just like a good feeling. Like to do it, I'm just like, as long as there's like an ungodly amount of saliva, I feel like I'm golden, which deep throating just makes you like gag anyway. So like you don't have a choice. There's like so much saliva, but like, I don't know. I feel like just the combination of like, obviously like using your hand in your mouth at the same time. I just enjoy it, dude. Like I genuinely do. Like it just makes me happy to see my partner feel good. It's a good feeling. And I'm fucking good at it. And like it happens every time.
Yeah.
Like we do not have sex without it happening.
Yeah.
And like I think I used to probably be like every time, but I just learned to love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing about our sex is that we do it all.
Right.
Like it is not like we just like go in the bedroom and we're like, shut the blinds, take a shower, and like, let's go have anal sex. Like we lead up to it. Like there is like, we've kind of been working on mastering that intimate foreplay, because that is like such a critical part of sex. I feel like that so many people rush it or force it. And it took me a long time to, I think that was the part where I would kind of laugh at the beginning because I felt uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Instead of just accepting either what my partner wanted to give or what I wanted to give and just kind of rolling with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like foreplay is just like such a great part. I enjoy it a lot. And like, I think giving a blowjob almost makes my libido go up, I would say. It probably makes me more ready to have sex. Mm. Maybe because it revs him up. I actually don't really quite know. I have to assume that's why. But like, I think I probably initiate by doing that because I'm just like, I don't know. It's just interesting.
Yeah. I'm not quite there yet, but I know I will be if I rev you up, and that revs me up at the same time. Yeah,
because I think that, in my opinion, men and women have way different things. Like, I feel like a man has a switch. Mm-hmm. And I think a woman has a switch, but it's not like a light switch. It's like a long switch that takes a long time to go from like off to on, where a man can just go from off to on like that.
Yeah.
And so, I'm really proud of myself the way I just said that, because it's taken me years to wrap my head around trying to actually verbalize that because it's hard, like, especially as you're growing with someone, to really express how that is. And I used to get really frustrated that I couldn't have the short switch. Mm-hmm. I am literally learning so much about myself talking to you about this, but like, I just used to get so frustrated that I couldn't just be ready when he was. And I think that also didn't help my libido.
Right.
I would just be so fucking pissed.
Yeah. And you get in your head about it, which
what's wrong with me? Yeah. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? Yeah.
Right.
It's just insane. So like, I think also the people pleaser in me, it's the same way. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to get you off because that's going to get me off. Mm-hmm. And like, is that healthy? I'm sure maybe a part of it's not, but like, also I'm not doing it because like, it's not like I'm only doing it for him. There's an aspect of it that works for me too. And so anyway, I don't know.
Do you like being eaten out?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was like hoping, I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
You don't have to talk about
it. But
it.
I don't know why. Okay. And that bothers me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
You know, like I don't have a reason.
Yeah.
My husband's great at it.
Yeah.
I don't know why, like, I'm like, I can like feel that I just want to like pull the covers up over my head. Mm-hmm. And I just think that's really interesting. So I absolutely do love it. I think that when it comes down to foreplay, I'm more willing to say, let me do that. Let me do something to you than you me. Mm-hmm. Again, I have to.
Do you think it's like, I don't know, something about having control of the situation?
Well, that's an interesting question. So probably, I mean, I think no.
Necessarily, yeah.
Well, no, I think it's an interesting question because like I have anxiety that relates to a lot of control issues. Not that I'm a controlling person, but when things, I think you're probably totally right. Actually, like, I mean, I might even have to have you cut this out because quite honestly, like I'm just
That's
having
okay.
like a huge fucking revelation right now.
That's okay.
Because there is such a level of control when I don't have that. I don't know. Maybe it gives me anxiety. Maybe it makes me feel, I just don't like that feeling. And maybe it makes me feel uncomfortable, which is a whole other thing because I wholeheartedly believe nothing good comes from a comfort zone, but it's really hard to leave that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I can enjoy it, but I don't know. Maybe it's because I have to assume that you're right exactly in what you just said. It's really kind of interesting, to be honest with you.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry. I'm all like,
you're good.
Stuck
You're
in my
good.
head now.
All's good. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or we can wrap this up if you want?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think you wanted to touch on, or is relevant to?
No, I'm over here like, I can't believe I just shared all that with somebody. Honestly, I don't think I ever have really shared any of that with like a lot of people. I mean, I just don't, you know?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but.
How is it talking about it openly like this for you?
It's exciting and like a mixture of nerve-wracking, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is because like I think that what we're talking about is so natural. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I'm like giving away some deep, dark secret. Like maybe it's my upbringing. You know, that's an interesting thing like that we didn't touch on, but like, you know, I didn't live in a household where like you talked about sex. Not that it was frowned upon, but it just wasn't talked about. Mm-hmm. So like, again, that's why the rom-coms played a part in my life. So like, I don't know. I'm excited to share it. I think I, like worry about what my husband would say. Mm. I could be totally wrong in what my husband could say. And I know that. I could be over here thinking like, oh my God, he's going to be like, I can't believe you said all that. Or he's going to be like, I think that's awesome. Like, because who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Because life is so fucking short. And like, honestly, like, okay, sure, this will be out there and people will hear it and but like, there's that level. And like, I think I'm constantly trying to walk that line of like, I don't fucking care what anyone thinks, but also deep down, like, yes, I totally fucking care what everyone thinks, but why?
Right.
And I don't know what that reason is.
Yeah. So. Well, I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. And we went into so many things that I wasn't expecting. And that's my
awesome.
favorite part of doing every single interview I do is that they always take interesting turns that I wasn't expecting at all. So thank you very much for being willing to be open about it.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy you asked me and I'm happy that we did it.
Yay.
Honestly, thank God. I would have regretted not doing it. I can tell you that. I know I would have. So do something every day that scares you. This is it.
Yeah. Yup. Check.
Did my deed for the day. But for real, I'm really happy about it.
Jenny is the fucking tits, y'all. I love that woman so much, and I am so endlessly proud of her journey, and I'm honored to be able to witness it for such a long time because she really has grown and matured and become more self-confident exponentially since middle school, as you know, I would like to think we all have, but it's particularly special when you get to witness that in somebody else. And there's something so wonderful about getting older because the relationships that you keep also mature and become wiser and have this deep nostalgia that new relationships just can't have, right? Something so wonderful about that. I really enjoyed her chatting about her experience with pregnancy, and it's something that I have no experience with and something that obviously a lot of the population does. I think it's so important to acknowledge and discuss the changes that happen in our bodies through pregnancy. And not only that, but specifically the changes that happen within the relationships that we have while pregnant, because big changes are happening physically, mentally, emotionally, and that inevitably alters aspects of your sexual relationships with other people or with yourself. I thought it was really fucking cool that even though her libido was way down and she wasn't having sex with her husband very much while she was pregnant, masturbation was key for her. And so she had a more physical relationship with herself through that time. And that was what was appropriate during that experience. And I find that sort of shit fascinating. So anyway, in 2 weeks, I am going to be chatting with my friend Miranda in Bloomington, Indiana, and we talk about her experience in various kinds of sex work. So looking forward to having you guys listen in on that. And if you feel so inclined, check out my Patreon as I blush furiously over here, plugging myself. Regardless, in the meantime, stay awesome, friends.